Yeah, and we're over 100.
We are.
Hey, everybody. I've been out a number of weeks, like I said last week, so I'm still getting caught up with open mics. But we do this call for you folks. MSPs asked, they wanted to hear what was new with the platform, what bugs have been fixed. You folks wanted to do a little R&D or rob and duplicate from your peers. Just a reminder, this is a highly technical call for folks that are interested in making automations. If you're an MSP operator, owner, feel free to listen in and hear what other people are doing with automations. Another reminder, let's see, who am I going to ask? Brian Simpson. How many MSPs have succeeded with automation that have never asked a question?
Probably the same number of MSPs that have folders in Rewst, which would be 0.
Exactly, 0. One of the key indicators that I have on whether or not an MSP will succeed is whether or not they want to ask questions. So we give you plenty of places to do that. You can use the coop, it's public. We'll answer it. Maybe other MSPs will answer it. If you don't want to ask it in a public forum, you can use your private channel. And our support and Rock will pop in and answer your question for you. And with that, that's my update and announcements. Oh, we did release, I'm going off script here. We did release Robo Roosty. Anyone have any stories about any questions they asked Robo Roosty or anything interesting that you folks did with Robo Roosty since we launched it this week? Oh, Derek says it may be part of his demo.
I have a funny Robo Roosty story. I wrote a whole prompt to write a workflow like what was shown as like the prototype thing. And of course it said, I can't do that.
Just so everyone knows, that is coming in later this year. Hopefully, that is one of our Q4 initiatives. I've seen a few people be able to ask Robo Rewsty to give them workflow tasks that they can copy. I didn't know it could do that, I'll be honest, but I mean, sometimes your mileage may vary. So, you know, people are always discovering really, really cool things that you can do with Robo Rewsty. But I definitely want to hear some feedback and things like that. We have the Robo Rewsty Discord channel. Be sure to post there, but only the good stuff, because that's all I want to hear. You know, if you have any bugs, just report them to Daniel.
Awesome. Yeah, part of the plan was always to use Robo Rewsty for workflow generation. This is our first pass. The next pass is workflow generation. All right, let's party. Ash, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, so we are going to have our internal updates first, and we will start with George. You look raring to go.
It's me. Well, JP, I saw you come off mute there for a second. Was there, and had your hand up? Was there something you're going to say? You just smashed.
I was going to say that I use Robo Rewsty all the time. I love it. Like I use it for when I'm working on workflows. I use it for the patch notes, and I find that really useful because if I need to revert things, it writes up really good notes on what I've changed as I'm going along. So that's one way I use it personally.
Thank you.
Alrighty, this week I have some lovely little slides to share with you because we have a couple of things to announce. But first and foremost, before we jump into that, we are kicking off event season. October is spooky month, but also loads of events happening, particularly next week. 2 big ones, DadoCon and PAX 8 EMEA over in Amsterdam. So the Rewst booth and teams will both be there. So if you're heading to either, make sure you stop by. I'll call out Paxade in particular, Frank, our Chief Product Officer, is actually going to be there in person. And I believe, Aharon, are you heading there as well? Perhaps?
Nope. I'm doing stuff with my son,
Gotcha.
so I will not be there.
So Frank will be there. Frank, as our Chief Product Officer, great person to grab and speak to in person. If you have comments on Robo Roosty, want to give some feedback, want to ask some questions, great guy to chat with. So seek him out, say hello, introduce yourself. And then for those heading down to Miami in DattoCon, Olivia, Gary, the rest of the team will be there, and we are having a partner dinner. And there are a few spots left. So if you are not already going to that dinner and you are going to be in DattoCon in Miami, drop a message in the chat. Feel free to email me or Olivia, or drop me a DM in Discord, and we would love to have you join us for some food. The other thing at DattoCon that is super cool is you're going to want to stop by the booth, because we have a limited amount of free tickets for this. So we are officially opening up registration for Flow 2026. Last year in Tampa, next year in 2026, we are going to be in Nashville. So super cool city. Hotel is right downtown near Broadway, but we are going to have an action-packed agenda full of great content, helped by you guys from our community. For those of you who aren't familiar with Flow, it is a vendor-agnostic event focused all around automation. It's designed for both builders and leaders. So whether you're someone who's on this call looking for technical tips and tricks, or maybe you're someone who owns an MSP and is more interested in business processes, this event is for you. Oh, hello? Someone heckling me?
Your slides, George, are in I think like presenter view.
Oh, terrible. Sorry. Wait. Thanks, Olivia. There we go. Let's do this instead.
Thought you were just giving us the inside
notes. There we go. So yes, happening next June 23rd, 24th, 25th, with a community-driven agenda. Most important thing right now, we have early bird pricing open, which means that you can save up to $150 per ticket, particularly whenever you're buying for team members. So whenever you buy more than one ticket, there is a $50 discount, but right now with early bird, you're getting even more. So make sure to check out the links that will drop into the chat and get yourself registered. As I mentioned, at DattoCon next week, we actually have a limited number of free passes that we'll be giving away at DattoCon. So if you are at that event, do stop by the booth, say hi, chat to Olivia and Gary there, and see if you can snag one of those. And the last slide for me is our call for speakers is also open. So we had some great, really informative sessions earlier this year from members of our community, sharing some tips and tricks of things they're building, just sharing a wealth of knowledge. A couple of the key things that we've had feedback on from our members is people want to hear more about obviously automation, but AI is super popular as well, specific use cases. So even though every Friday we're going through some pretty cool demos and drilling into things at a technical level, there's still loads of partners and people who aren't even using Rewst today that are just interested to see how they can use automation to help elevate and increase efficiencies within their business, and then just general how-tos. So if you're someone that thinks you would like to speak at Flow next year, or feels like you could disseminate some information, some knowledge to other MSPs in the channel, we would love to hear from you. If you are selected, you will get a free ticket or a refund if you've already purchased. So don't let your call for speaker application pause or prevent you from signing up early today, and make sure you get that in by December 1st. After we've reviewed, we're looking to kind of have the speaker announcements made by sometime in February. So that is it from me. Was there any questions about any of that before we move on? And thanks, Sarah. Olivia's dropped the links in the chat for both call for speakers and registration. Mandy.
Yes, I have a question about recordings from 2025. What's the status of those? Are they? I saw some of them are on the YouTube channel, but not all of them have made it. Are they being released slowly, or are they available somewhere for the 2025 recordings?
I believe believe I can.
Hey,
Let me.
George, I can
Was that
answer
here? Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Tag
hey,
me in.
hey, tag me in. Hey, yeah, all the sessions currently are available in the Cvent app, and then we've started to roll out selectively on YouTube. So over the course of the coming weeks, we'll be pushing more live there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks, Mandy. Any other questions on Flow? Cool. All right, thanks so much. Back to you, Ashely.
All right, so now we are going to flow on over to Clea for our community education updates.
Hello, hello. If anyone noticed a few glitches to the Cluck University homepage, that was me just adding some new training courses. So reminder that we are always updating Cluck University behind the scenes. I shared a link to all things new in the chat here, so make sure to grab all those links for later. But for now, I'll take us on a little tour. As always, we're going to start with shout outs. Recent folks who got certified in Rewst Foundations include Simon, William, Kashawn, Randy, Wayne, and Evan. And for clean automation, we have Hunter, Luke, let me know how to pronounce that, please. William, Kashawn, and Richard. And Rewst's very own Dawood, I think he got certified in both things like within a week of starting at Rewst. So congrats to Dawood. Reach out in our CluckU Discord channel if you have any questions or feedback. You can also email us at clucku@rewst.io. And as always, we have office hours with the legendary Eddie Chow. I'm a little sad because no one is signed up for office hours in the next few weeks, and we've only got one person signed up for the next session of Rewst Foundations. So do know that we offer live training. I know there are schedule constraints, but sign up if you can and join us there. What's new at Cluck University? We've got a few new and enhanced courses. I'll show those off in a second here, but we have one that talks about how to be strategic with webhook triggers. If you know what a webhook is, and you know that Rewst can automate things when a webhook receives data, cool, right? But you want your automations to run on the right data, not just any data. That course teaches you how, shows you how to apply trigger criteria to a webhook triggered workflow. And that's a lot of technical words, but it's all in the name of efficiency and working strategically. So check out that course. It is short and sweet and teaches you an awesome technique. We've also made a few tweaks to a course that we launched last week, building self-serve automation requests, added some AI videos. Yes, we did clone Eddie's voice. So that's AI Eddie talking to you in those videos. I mean, if nothing else, go sign up for the course and let us know what you think. Open to any feedback, good, bad, critical, all of it. I have all sorts of mixed feelings about it, but I also have limited time today and more to share. We added a few session recordings to live training for Rewst Foundations. I'll show you where to find those, and an About Cluck University page. In terms of new and updated documentation pages, we've got a Robo Roosty user guide. Definitely take that for a spin as you get up to speed with Robo Roosty. There's some awesome tips and tricks and best practices in there. And there's some updated guidance for other things. But without further ado, let me take us into CluckU. Here we are at learn.rewst.io. We added this little page in the top left corner about Cluck University, covering some common questions and feedback like, who is this for? Where are my certificates? How do I find and continue my courses? And some tips for troubleshooting and support. Shout out to Lauren on our team, who got a lot of help from AI tools into coding this and adding these neat little drop downs. And if there's anything that you think is missing, let us know. We'll be happy to add it to our About page. This banner needs some design love, so I might throw this at Claude and see what it can do, but 2 new courses, building self-serve automation requests, and getting strategic with webhook triggers are out there. You can see this one is pretty short, 11 minutes. Get your workflows to run when you want them to run with trigger criteria. Learn from Eddie. And those are featuring Eddie's real voice. If you want to hear AI Eddie, he is featured in the new videos that start on the second lesson here towards the bottom. For live training at Rewst Foundations, you'll notice that there are a few optional lessons added. So if you find yourself looking at dates, maybe you register, maybe you can't make any of them. If you want to see a self-paced version of what Eddie typically teaches live in an hour, we have that for you right there. So that is new, session 1, 2, and 3. And we'll be giving the same makeover to clean automation when Eddie runs some internal training for us Rewst folks next week. So that way our videos are not featuring any sensitive customer information. It's just us cheering Eddie on and asking him questions. So give those videos some love. I think that is everything that I wanted to share. I will go ahead and drop a link to the Robo Roosty doc in the chat because I'm going to take that for a spin after this meeting. Maybe make another AI video on AI. And yeah, back to you, Ash.
Thank you, Clea. All right, we are going to jump over to Daniel with May.
Hello, everybody. I'll drop a link to our updates here in chat. So this week, obviously, as discussed, our big item that we launched was Robo Roosty. It has so far been successful. We're getting amazing feedback. We have a list of improvements. We have a list of bug fixes to tackle. But yeah, just keep that feedback streaming. I'm going to add a couple more relevant links here. And one of them is the Discord channel. It's a great place for community where you can go and talk Robo Roosty and what you're doing and what's exciting. And then there's also a one-pager of prompts that we have where you can give you some ideas for how to use Robo Roosty. So as mentioned in previous weeks, Robo Roosty, anywhere you see this icon, you can interact with Robo Roosty. We try to make it very obvious that we have this fun new AI assistant working for you. It mainly can help with things like guiding you along your journey. So you can ask it a whole bunch of questions. It can troubleshoot errors. It can document your workflows among a whole bunch of other things. Even try asking it what it can do for you, and it will give you an idea. As Pizza mentioned, we have tons more fun features coming in Q4 over the course of the next 3 months, including workflow generation. So right now it can guide you and give you some pointers on what to build, but it won't actually put those actions on the canvas for you. That will be coming in the next quarter. Besides that, we have a whole slew of bug fixes that went out, so be sure to check out the documentation page to see if there's anything that's really relevant to you. And with that, we have integration coming up, and I think that's all I have to talk about today, so I can pass it back to Ashely.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, so now we are going to do our marketplace updates with JP.
Hello. For the marketplace this week, we released a few nice bug fixes and enhancements. For Microsoft user onboarding, we fixed basically like a false negative where it was saying a user wasn't being created during the onboarding process, but it really was. In another, the PSA update ticket with user offboard links, we added some region-specific links in the description of the crate itself. Fixed some truncation issues in the configuration of the crate for configuring GDAP relationships. Skipping down a bit, we've fixed or we added some additional criteria to help prevent duplication issues when rotating passwords. Sometimes it wasn't matching accounts properly in the rotate account passwords crate. and we had some integration overrides for the amend mailbox permissions. So good number of fixes. What we're going to be working on in the next week or two during our next sprint is we have a substantial backlog of fixes that we've actually already implemented and just need peer review on those. So we're going to focus in on clearing those out and hopefully have a lot of new bug fixes and enhancements for next week. That is the marketplace update this week.
All right. Thank you so much, JP. So we are going to jump into our demos. Before we do, I'm going to share my screen quickly on something that a few people have asked me about, and so we're just going to take a look again at this. So with Robo Rewsty out, somebody even commented like you're not having to use the Jinja Ninja as much, which is awesome in ChatGPT. If anybody was still needing to use anything from there or was curious about like the instructions and stuff, I've actually uploaded everything, including all of the instructions so that you can read those and see what it's integrating there. But the cool thing that I wanted to show was like I see a lot of people chatting about the different things that they've posted on GitHub or whatever. And if you haven't seen this, it's something that I'm playing with right now where it's actually going and looking for all of the different Rewst labeled stuff that's in GitHub. So I could actually click in and see what people have shared. So for example, this is the bundle of a workflow that Brandon has, and I can actually like look at the template and go and like jump into his files and stuff like that and view it right from GitHub. So if that's something that people want to take a look at, it's in the same package as where all of the Jinja filters and the information about the extensions is. But I'll share the link as well again. And if anybody has any questions or wants to see anything else done to that, let me know because it's fun to work on. But without further ado, we are going to jump into our demos. And our very first demo is going to be Derek.
All righty. Let me get my screen share going here. Okay, so I kind of hinted that there was maybe some of the Robo Rewsty. We'll start with that. So one of the first things I did was ask it to document my workflow like a pirate, because I'm that kind of person, and it does a top-notch job. So if you want to have a little bit of fun with some of your workflow documentation, and it's not anything terribly important that maybe your boss would get upset if you found the pirate documentation for, give it a try. That being said, this is a fairly simple workflow, though I think it is very important that everybody have in Rewst, and all it is going to do for us is handle error notifications. So when workflow fails, it lets us know that it failed. That way we aren't constantly searching through the execution logs to track everything under the sun. It sits as a workflow executioner or workflow listener, sorry. So when you configure that on a workflow and that workflow fails, and I'll get to how you do that in a second, it just launches. Super easy. First thing we're doing obviously is we have our no-op or noop, depending if you're Canadian or not. And we're just grabbing the execution link for what failed. And we'll get to why in just a second. Then we're just listing all of our workflows so that we can pull out the specific workflow name. And then we're just sending that off to Slack. We use a JSON block message here, just because it makes things a little bit easier as far as finding the execution, and because this was the first time I really got to use a JSON block with Slack, and I wanted to do that. These are really, really cool. We'll show what it looks like in a second when we fail something. But real easy, we have our header here, workflow flopped. Then we have our different sections. So we have a section for what company that ran under, and then we have a section for what the workflow was named. It's worth noting it's a great use for a default value. If we were unable to find what that workflow name was, we just default it out to something so that the whole workflow doesn't fail. And then we just get in an infinite loop here, and that would be bad. Then we have a different section for a button, and all that button is going to do is pop open the execution link, and that's where we grabbed that execution link up in the NOOP or NOOP, because I'm not Canadian. So how this works, I have my scratch pad here. We have a fail action, and we're just going to run this, and we're going to see that it fails. And then we see that I got sent a message over here in my Slack. We see what the company was, what the workflow was, and then we can open that execution in a new browser window, and it takes us right to that. So that's my short little demo, and really what you guys were unaware of is we're demoing inside of a demo. I'm calling this demoception, because what this demo is actually about is a bigger Robo Roosty demo. I have presented a handful of times, but there are people out there that maybe are nervous about how do I present, what do I talk about, that kind of stuff. There's this handy guide, best practices, in the documentation page. And what else is really cool is you can craft a Robo Roosty query that says, hey, below is the best practices for presenting on open mic. Help me craft a presentation. And it spits you out something along this, which gives you exactly how to do it, right? So this is the problem I solved. This is why it matters. These are the benefits. Here's how it works. Gives you all the bullet points that you need to cover, and even gives you a strong close, which is thanks everyone. I'm genuinely excited for how this simple workflow transformed our operations. Can't wait to see what monitoring solutions you all build. The documentation workflow are not available. Sorry. If anyone wants to implement something similar, let's keep building amazing automations together. So yeah, that's that. Any questions?
What I love about that, Derek, is that you found the exact gap that so many people have with AI, which is it doesn't have the context to give you the valuable thing. It's just like people can throw like, oh, like give me an idea into ChatGPT. But if you're using like the vanilla, everything is available to you, you're not going to get nearly as good of a response as when you're giving it has the exact context of your workflow. So that's really awesome use case of integrating the knowledge that it has with how you can leverage it.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Derek? I actually think that you just gave me an inspiration. I want to go through and I want to have Robo Rewsty write me poems about my workflows and some songs about my workflows. And so it's like,
yes,
think about this workflow as if it was a creator. What would its song be? We have to have somebody come up with that. Share it. All right. Thank you. All right. So yeah, so what's funny is that I was talking with Will. Will was actually going to show a different, Derek was actually going to show a different workflow originally. I mean, same premise, but then I was talking with Will, and Will had an idea for a workflow. And then Derek came back to me and he was like, actually, here's the one I'm going to show. And I was like, that sounds a lot like what Will said that he was going to show me. So we're kind of having a little bit of a theme where two people who did not talk to each other back to back kind of solved a similar use case. So, Will, do you want to jump in now?
This is hilarious. Yeah, it's almost, my workflow is almost identical to what Derek's is. Actually, I kind of liked his output in the Slack channel better than mine. But I'll just kind of show you guys what I did. The big difference is instead of running a git workflow command in the middle, I was using the GraphQL, and that's why I went down this path, is I wanted to just get familiar with the GraphQL. And I was using that to grab all the errors. And then I post my Slack message. Future state, to kind of tie this into Robo Roosty, you know, I definitely envision a scenario where we could either call Robo Roosty to review those errors and then summarize it before it hits Slack, or call the MCP once that's available. But I think there's a lot of cool stuff we can do with this. And I like that it's a one-stop completion handler, a universal completion handler we can just deploy on all of our workflows. But don't copy this. I like Derek's better.
Thank you. So you had said that there was some like discussion around that type of topic that you were thinking that would probably be good for us to have, right? Like, what was the thing that you were thinking of?
So I think error handling is something that I've always struggled with, that I'm assuming, you know, is one of the things that as people mature in their Rewst skills, have to develop. And I like this because it kind of simplifies the error handling for me, because I'm going to get the error messages, but I'm interested in how everybody does it when they add their error handling. Is it at the end once you're done with your workflow? Or do you do it as you go? Is it a single output? I'm always interested in how to streamline that, because I'll be honest, once I get my workflow working, going back and adding the error handling is not my favorite thing to be doing. But Robo Rewsty yells at me every time that when it creates my workflows.
So two people did this, so that means that more people must be thinking about it. So what is everyone else doing in there? Is it along the same lines, different?
I build it in based off, like, inside as I build a workflow, and I do it based off of like each section of the automation, depending on like what it's doing, if there's multiple different steps. It's difficult because like in some cases you don't want to kill the whole workflow, but you want to know like what failed or what didn't fail. So I keep like a running log that I update over time throughout the workflow. And then I just output that out at the end. And I also keep like so there's one running log of like a running string that's always being updated with what changed or what failed or whatever. And then I also have like a status state variable, which is like an integer. You know, like I try to mimic the executable, you know, 0 is success and anything else is a failure, and different codes mean different things. So theoretically speaking, and not that I've ever done this part yet, but theoretically speaking, knowing the code that failed, I can go back and run that specific step again from that failure. So that's how I do it. And I basically, at the end, the goal is to make the workflow always succeed, right? We don't want it dying. And then based off of the result codes, we can then go back and continue or fix or whatever. But that's how I do it. And I do it while I'm building it because it's impossible to go back after.
Yeah. Or like you do go back after, you're like, I wish I had that modularized because now I can't run it from that.
Yeah,
spot.
like how did this happen? What did I do here? Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's on the call. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Oh, sorry, Hunter, you've got your hand up.
I just want to bring up the way I do it for the failed workflows is I have a workflow that has a template that I set up as a listener for basically most of my workflows, where when the workflow fails, it'll email me the name of the workflow that failed and a link to the results. So I can just click that to go directly to them.
That's cool. I like the links to the results stuff, adding in it's like the attention to detail touches that make me feel like people love their workflows.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. I actually think there's probably, maybe we can jump into that sometime in the future, Mindy. We can see how different people are doing different things, and I'm sure other people have some good ideas too. Let's jump into our next demo. David.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. I am going to show off something that I built. Yeah, this week I showed it to our CEO, and he thought it was pretty interesting. So I thought it would be cool to share. It's in App Builder. I built a little skills matrix. I got to find the right thing here. So I think I've talked about this before on other calls. I use App Builder primarily for kind of hosting, websites and things like that our company can use internally. So this is pretty simple. It's just 2 pages and a JSON, a JavaScript template. So I started with just by creating a JS template and saving that here, and then grabbing the the ID from here to reference that in my HTML. So then I created I guess this is the self-assessment, which I'll show you. And then I basically created a skills matrix. So this is just, like I said, just an HTML container inside App Builder, right? So you just come in, go HTML container, drop that on here. It'll say I am HTML. I just copy over that with my, my HTML, and I reference my JavaScript template here at the end. Pretty simple, like I said, just 2 pages. And then when you go to the self-assessment page, you get the opportunity to, fill out all of this information. I tried to make it so it wasn't horrible. These things are really terrible, generally speaking. Like, how many years of experience do you have and in this random skill and things like that. But Zag's going through some changes right now, and we're going to have a need to understand, what people are capable of in different departments and what kinds of things people want to do and so on and so forth. So I created a bunch of different headers here. Can you lead client projects, so on and so forth? You could kind of set that up however you want, right? And then at the end, you just submit it, and then it goes into this skills matrix, which I have kind of set up right now just with myself and then some other sample data. One of the things that I'm kind of working on, I was trying to get going right before the call, is to be able to click on each of these skill headers and have it sort by, the highest or lowest. I was just running into some issues with that, but I right now have the expansions, and then it kind of gives you a rating of, what your skill level is. And this is all self-assessment kinds of things. I thought it was pretty interesting when I was looking at it. My boss had gone through and filled it out, and she really doesn't like to rate herself very well and things. I'm like, she's got 15 years as a project manager, and she marked herself like, developing or whatever. So that's pretty neat. And then the cool thing that I think is when you click on the person, it pulls up their profile, and you can see obviously by the emojis, I'm using, ChatGPT or Augment to come up with some of the code for this. So, and then, things here marked as, mentor, emergency context, so on and so forth. You can add and remove the skill data, and it all saves to a GitHub gist, and just saves in JSON here for persistence, so that if I load it or Ananya loads it or somebody else loads it, they're all going to get the same data. And then, because everybody always needs their spreadsheets, we can export it to CSV. Whoops, wrong spreadsheet. You guys don't want to see the Windows 11 upgrade progress, believe me, it's not pretty. And then you get a cool spreadsheet like this that kind of breaks it all down and shows you what the different certifications are and different skills and things like that. So we think this is going to be really useful for us, in terms of understanding, like I said, what we're capable of in different categories and things like that. And then, the skills are literally just in the JavaScript. So pretty basic, but from a standpoint, like this is a way that we use, that we use App Builder to kind of put together, useful tools for our company. So I hope that's helpful. And that's my demo.
Thank you. And Derek, you've got a question?
Yeah, are you using a workflow on the back end to send that data off to your GitHub gist, or how are you handling that?
I'm not. I could probably, but it's just in the, you know, in the JavaScript to save the, you know, when you click the button to save the information to the private gist. It's got the gist ID and the private token in there, and it just saves it. And then you know, when you hit the clear button, it goes in and removes the entry.
Interesting. So I don't know if you were here several weeks ago, I shared an idea portal where I'm using SQL, and my biggest issue is the load time for the workflow to run the SQL queries.
Yeah, it does. I will say, you know, it takes a minute or two probably after I run the assessment and submit it before it shows up in the matrix. And so like, and then if I go in and I rerun the assessment, I can just select the things that, like, if I earn a certification, I can just select and enter the cert that I got, and then enter it and it'll add it. Or if my skill level in something changes, or if I want training in something, I can just go in and update that, and it'll update the record, update my profile. So it's kind of a dynamic living document. But yeah, I mean, it takes a minute or two. I wouldn't know. I mean, SQL seems like it might take longer.
That is really cool though. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we will jump over to Dustin.
Hello. All right, let me share here. All right, so this is a super easy workflow that you can implement and get in front of all of your staff to show off the benefits of using Rewst. So what this does is, if you have BambooHR as your HRIS system, it will pull out everyone who is out of the office today and then send a Teams message. So first, we just grab today's date, store it in a variable. Then we do a GET request over to the time off request endpoint in Bamboo. Pass the end and start date of today, and then status approved. So we only want to see the time off requests that are approved. And then with the results from there, we put them into two lists, people who are out all day, and then people who are out part of the day. And you can easily parse that out by looking at the amount. If it's 8 hours plus, they're out all day. And then if it's less than 8 hours, then they're out part of the day. And then we sort it by name. Then we send those over to an adaptive card and send those over to Teams. And then that output in Teams looks like right there.
Cool. I just keep thinking about some of these things when I was at my MSP, and I was like, if only we had all of the hacky workarounds we did with ConnectWise to make it be everything for everyone. Any questions? Yep, that's true. Work with the tools you got. That was my mantra as I was growing up ConnectWise. We wrapped up. We got all 4 of our demos in and all of our updates. If anybody has anything, actually, Ray, I see you just turned on your camera, so I'm going to ask you a question, not to put you on the spot, but Mendy said something earlier about how he goes back to the task to be able to run the error like from that spot. And then it made me remember the thing that you did forever ago about that. And I was wondering whether like that was like part of your error handling, or like was that something else that you were doing there?
That was something else. That was more so, I had a task that ran for about 4 hours and I needed a way to restart it from where it had failed. And because of the way I built the workflow, if I didn't grab the context and have everything that was in it and then rerun from that point, it wasn't going to work. I just couldn't be bothered. So I came up with a way that it would work.
That was really cool. I remember that.
Also, I didn't have error handling at the time. I was very new to Rewst, so yeah, I didn't build it out right.
Oh, okay.
But I do have something to show, I suppose.
Okay, cool. Yay.
This is a work in progress. This is okay. Let's play it this way. Everyone, imagine you're a rock engineer who, or you work Rewst rock support, right? Which means you come up against workflows constantly you've never seen before. You don't know the context. You don't know what's going on. And then there are errors. And let me just share a screen just so you can see this. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Okay, so let's say you've just come up and you've got a workflow like this that's failed. And you've got no idea what it is. You've got to dig into it and work it out. So what if you're also someone who's fairly good at doing things in Rewst? And what if you just write Rewst to troubleshoot Rewst for you? So I just get the execution ID, I hit launch. Just wait. This is all in App Builder, guys. All App Builder, all Rewst. So it's starting to dig into the workflow. It's 61 tasks in. It's worked out, okay, execution ID, here's the workflow, here's the execution, here's the debug, Ginger Live editor, the rest of it, right? So I can just hit that. Great, I'm here. I can start looking through. Cool, it was ran at this org. It was ran for this org. So what this means, managing org, who manages it, what client ran it. So did an MSP run it for their client? What sort of thing is set up there? Let's just refresh this because it's still running. And still running, but not complete. So Adam wanted me to make this full width, so I added this one button just for him. But basically it starts digging into it and finding every error. Cool, execution failed. The action name, this one had an error. Cool, I could dig into that. Another one, this action failed with none, has no attribute ID. No attribute ID, standard stuff, but you're starting to see what it can do. So if I jump around to another one I've built, this might be the same workflow it was. This one is showing me that in AAD user, key error result was just blank. This one showing me that there's list must be in integers or slices. There was a timeout on the call. Basically, I can put any workflow into this and it starts digging into it. But then it becomes cooler and cooler, right? So if I go back to this one, I can hit execution summary. I can start digging into the workflow and actually seeing every single task that was run, every single action, everything else. But then I also went, screw that, I want to see more info. So what happens if I want to see everything that was added to the context as it ran? So this added key running, but as I scroll down further and further, actually, this is a bad example. Sorry, guys. But basically, I've ran a diff where it's looking at every task, every everything that has a context output, everything that has a data alias, and it will show me in real time everything that was added to the context, which action did it, why it did it. If I need to come up to, let's go to this bit. Let's say I need to find a context, which actions have a reference to a task, or maybe discount. So 6 tasks have used the word CTX count. There's a couple that are using it as a condition on transitions, a couple that are using it on output. So I can hit search, and here's all those tasks for me. I know exactly what it was. I can click on inspect here, and I can see that this one actually added CTX count in +1, and the count became 1. Great, cool. Let's check the next one. And count's still 1 at this point. This one is using it as part of the published values from a condition. And here's the raw transition data. I could go on and on. This thing does so much bloody stuff. That one won't work, but if I go back here, I've started building out a full mermaid diagram for each of these things for the workflow. And then you can, depending on how complex the workflow is, I can see the execution path. Or I can just go, you know what, maybe I just want to see the tasks in order as they ran and not everything else. So here's the execution path, not every single task that ran. But Ash, talking about my rerun testing, I did start building this thing. So basically, this is looking through my context and work out areas I can rerun a workflow from. It's grabbing all the context. Soon I'll be able to hit this restart workflow from here. It will show me that I need to add this restart run action here to make it the first action on a workflow. And then I'll just be able to hit this restart workflow from here. And it's going to do the exact same thing that I did previously. It's got all the context up to that point that it needs, so it just posts that in and it will just kick off the workflow from that point. It's checking for, are there any joins? Are there any task.task.blah that it can't get because it wasn't saved to the context? Yeah. So this is all a work in progress. This is just something I've been playing around with. This was before Robo Rewsty came out. But yeah, there's probably like 50 things that this thing does that I haven't even covered right now. But just showing off something you could do in App Builder and Rewst.
We should do like an entire call where we just talk about all of the crazy potential things that you've built and others have built that are like awesome like this. Look at how much celebration you're getting there. That's so fun. Thank you. You brought us right to 3:56. Does anybody have any questions?
Only one, when prod.
When prod.
When Aaron asks, it's all good.
I'm working on it. I've built everything here to be able to, basically, I'm using all the GraphQL actions. I did it all as pure user like I would previously. So this should run in your environments without any issue. I'm finishing off the building of it, and then I'll be testing it in a client environment. If it all works fine, I will just be sharing this out. Because why keep it for me? Let's let you guys all play with it. Let's make it better. Let's make things really, really awesome for the whole community.
Ping Ray if you've got chickens you want to give him to make it be your tenant that he tested it. Awesome. Well, with all of that inspirational stuff to leave you with your weekend and wonder what kind of cool stuff you'll build or keep you playing in Rewst all weekend. as we know some of you do. Who else? Admit it. Who else roosts on the weekends sometimes? I do.
Late nights, early mornings.
Yep. Lots of hands. Okay, cool. Well, happy October 3rd, everyone. Go watch Mean Girls. See you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.